Welcome to Module 3 of the QuickBooks Accounting Software training. In this module, we're going to look at setting up cost centers. My name is LilianKatiso. I'm a financial management consultant and QuickBooks trainer. In this module, we're going to look at establishing cost centers, setting up classes, setting up items of stock, setting up VAT rates and discount rates. So when we talk about establishing cost centers, this is really for you to be able to determine what do you want to track as your cost center. A cost center is what some people call a profit center, where you're able to track the profit or lack thereof of a particular segment of your business. So some people have put segments in their business as locations, have put segments of their businesses as departments, as different areas that they have different product lines that they want to track how they are performing. And the version of QuickBooks that we're using, which is a desktop version of QuickBooks that we're using for this training, we are going to use what QuickBooks calls the classes. The class function is what you use to set up your cost centers once you've established them, once you've defined what your cost center is going to be. For different businesses that I've interacted with, they can choose their profit center or their cost centers depending on various factors. But the ultimate thing for you to consider when you're determining your cost center or your profit center is, are there revenues coming to it? And are there expenses and costs that can be tracked directly to it? Once you've established that one, then that will become your cost center or your profit center, because you'll be able to determine whether it's profitable or it's not profitable. And once you've established several or multiple cost centers for your business, QuickBooks allows you to see how each of them is performing, but also how all this can be aggregated, consolidated, and see which cost center or which profit center is more profitable than the other, and therefore know which one is your cash cow, so to speak. And so we're going to have a practical session of setting up classes, because that's the function that's used for setting up cost centers in QuickBooks. We're also going to go through how to set up items of stock that you're going to sell. We're going to set up VAT rates for those who are VAT registered. And if you offer discounts, we're also going to show you how to offer discounts. So I'm going to share the QuickBooks screen so that we can go through the step-by-step on each of these items on Module 3. Following our first two modules, I believe now you're familiar with this page, which is the home page for QuickBooks, okay? You might want to call it like your landing page. That's where you see everything that you want to do in QuickBooks and decide on which icon to go to perform the activity that you want to go to. And so now for Module 3, setting up cost centers. In Module 2, we already showed you how to activate them, how to activate the cost centers. But now, how do you then type them in, or how do you then set them up for your business? So the function that you're going to go to is on lists, okay? There's a list function on the upper tab here. Under lists, when you click on lists, it gives you a drop down. On the drop down, you're going to see a list of all other items that you're going to go through today, most of them, how to set up the item list and how to set up the VAT code list. But what you're looking at right now is how to set up the class list. So when you click on the class list, you're going to see this list of the classes that have already been pre-set up, because we're using a sample file, we're using a sample company file. So we have some data that you can actually look at once the class is put in place. You see how the data comes out when you query information by class. So this is a company that sells auto spares and auto parts. Okay, so for them, their profit centers, they have chosen to track both the domestic sales, imports, insurance claims, office expenses, like for the main office, some people call that admin expenses, then the parts that they are selling and the services that they offer. So now, if you want to add a new class, at the drop down here, at the bottom of the screen, there is a class function there. There's a class tab. On the class tab, you click new, and it allows you to type in the new class that you want to put there. Okay. So assuming that this auto company also wants to have a class to track its sale of cars. So we just say, want to see a class for tracking how our cars are selling. And then you say, okay. So you see, added to this, what was there before, domestic, import, and all the other ones, we also put cars. Okay. So that's our new class. Now, if you already had information in the system, then as you've been doing data capture, for every expenditure that you put in and for every income that you put in, you have to assign it a class, okay? And when you do the practical sessions of entering data, you're going to see how you assign the different classes so that you can be able to track the profitability of each of the different classes. So that is how you set up the class function. And you can generate the reports below here at the lower tab. You can also generate the reports for different classes that you want to see how the class is performing. So you can see how the class of cars is performing, or you only want to see a report on how all the classes are performing. And you click on report by class. When you click on report by class, it shows you for this period, January through to December, the domestic cost center or the domestic class, this is how it's performing. It shows you both the sales and the expenses for each of that. There's the import, there's the insurance claim, there's the office, and there's the service. Now, when you set up a class function and on your report, you see something called unclassified. It means that at the time when data was being entered, there wasn't a class specified for that particular transaction. So when there is no class specified for a particular transaction, it goes to unspecified. And what I normally advise accountants is to make sure that before you generate your reports, your monthly reports, your quarterly reports, whichever reports you're sharing with the third party, make sure that when you check your profit and loss by class, there is nothing unclassified. All these things should be classified so that you know which business segment, which profit center they pertain to. And even here from QuickBooks, you can, from this report window, when you double click, when you see this Z looks like a zoom icon, when you double click on it, it will take you to the report where that it shows you the different transactions that were not specifically assigned classes, okay? And when we go through the data entry, I'm going to show you how to enter the different classes. And now, also, what you're supposed to cover today is how to set up the projects, okay? So there are people who track performance of their business by cost centers or profit centers, which is what QuickBooks calls that class. But also you might want to track a performance, a particular project that you're having. A project is something that has a beginning and an end, and you want to see how it's performing. Now, QuickBooks has a place that you can do that. On the upper tab, you come to the customers. When you click on the customer tab, it takes you to Customer Center. You click on the Customer Center. Okay. When you open the Customer Center, what happens? It opens the list of all the customers that you have already in your company. So when you're there in the Customer Center, you have an option of creating a new customer if the customer doesn't exist, or a customer job. But assuming you've already been having the customer already in the system, okay, you can assign that customer a job. So let me just show you how to enter a new customer. When you click up here, you can add a new customer, or you can add a customer job. So let's add a new customer. When you click there on new, You add the name of the customer. So let's give the customer my name, Lilian. Okay. So this is a new customer. There was no opening balance for this customer. Everything is new. Okay. Because you're going to have many different jobs for this customer, we just set up a name first of the customer. If you want to put in the information for the company where this customer works. So for example, my company is Zaddock Associates. Okay, the company is Zaddock Associates. You can put the details of the names, the job title, all the information that you want to capture with regards to your customer. You can feed in that information there. And you can even put the details of where the bill goes to, if you're shipping products, where the products are being shipped to, okay? And you can also set up the payment terms, okay? Which accounts do the payments go to? The payment terms for this particular client, you can decide it's due on receipt or on consignment or net 30. You can decide based on relationship with your customer. All these are different parameters. You can define them, including if they use credit cards or not. You can also determine a credit limit for your customer, okay? And also you can put price levels for your customer as well and define the parameters that you choose to have. And then you click OK to save the customer information. So that customer information, you can use it in future, like if you want to generate a database for your customers to send them reports and things like that, or to send them any information, of course, even reports, their statements, you can send through that. So assuming that we have a job running for Lilian and want to add a job for Lilian, so you can right-hand click on the name Lilian and add job. Okay, so you see where the cursor is, Lilian, then add job. When you click on add job, then you specify what's the nature of the job that you're adding for Lilian. So assuming it's car service, okay? Oh, car service, let's say car painting. Okay, so this car painting, I'm going to specify job information. Okay, painting, and you put specifications, silver gray, I'm just saying. So the job type, you can specify what the job type is, whether it's commercial, fleet, residential, but you can add other job information that you want to put in. And then status, is it in progress? Is it closed? Is it, yeah? So let's assume it's in progress. Then we say, what is the start date for this particular job? And what is the projected end date for the particular painting job? So once you feed this information, later on, you can come back when the job is completed, you can come back and complete the job itself. Now, from here, the customer register, you can see Lilian has a job or a project for car painting. And might have, the next time she might have a car service, another time she might have something else, engine overhaul. So depending on the nature of your business, you can decide how to structure the different jobs that you have for different customers and track the performance of each, okay? So that is how we set up projects. If you're VAT registered, okay, and you want to set up VAT rates, so you come here under VAT. On the VAT tab, okay, you scroll down to VAT code list. On the VAT code list, you'll find the list of different options that are already existing that QuickBooks pre-populates for you. You can delete them if none of them applies to you. But in this case, I'm showing you how to set up a new rate for your company. So in Uganda, the VAT rate is 18%. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see VAT code. Then you click new VAT code. So we're setting up a new VAT code and we're going to call it V, to give it a code V. In the description, you value added tax. Let me abbreviate it as VAT, and it is taxable. This VAT is taxable on purchases, okay? So if it's taxable on purchases, I put it's a standard rate for purchases, and the standard rate is at 18%. Okay, so I put there 18%. Oops. And then you choose what is the body that charges or levies this fee. Okay, in this case, you see the system, the sample file had MRC, HMRC VAT. You can add a new one. So in this case, you want to add Uganda Revenue Authority. Since you're in Uganda, and that's the same logic used for other bodies as well. Okay. Okay. You cannot change the tax agency after using the tax item in a transaction. Okay. So because this one had been used in another transaction, that is why it is saying that. So for the purpose of the example, let us just use MRC to set up the VAT code, but you have to add the VAT agency for your particular country at the time of setting up QuickBooks. Okay, we are using a sample file, and that is why it is denying that. For the sales as well, you set up standard sales rate for VAT, and it's also 18%. Okay? And if you want to change the body that levies the tax, you can also include that. You can say, okay. So that is how you add VAT codes in QuickBooks. So the next one is how to add discounts, okay? Now, discounts are added in the same place where the items are added, and I'm going to show you that shortly. So under lists, we're going to go to item list. Under the item list, for this auto business, already they have the list of the different items that they are offering, and I'm going to show you how they are added, how they're edited, and how they can be customized. Now, if you want to add VAT, add discount, okay? So you come at the bottom of the screen, there is item. Under item, you click new. So the dialog box opens up and you click new, and you can see there are different options of new things to add, and you click on discount. Okay, and so you're going to call it, maybe you want to call it sales discount. Sales discount, and then you can choose to put that you give discounts as a percentage, or you give discount as an absolute amount. So if you give discounts as a percentage, let's say it's 5%, then you put there 5%. But if you're giving it as an absolute amount, you put there, maybe it's 10,000 or something like that, okay? Whichever you choose, the system will apply the option that you go for. So let's assume it's a percentage. You have to assign, when the discount is given, which account does it go to? In this case, you'll assign sales discount, which should have already been assigned in your chart of accounts at the setup stage, okay? And if there is a sales code that applies to this one, you can include that as well. Then you say, okay. And that's how you set up your sales discount. So the time of transacting, when you're posting your sales, then you want to give the customer a discount, you click on the sales discount and you apply the percentage discount. So the other item that we are covering in module 3, which is setting up items, this one is based on what are you offering? Are you offering a service? Are you offering a product? And for this example, we're going to show you how to set up items of products so that you can see how to assemble different items together. Now, for any item that you want to set up, at the bottom of the screen, there is the item. You click on new. And what QuickBooks does is for different items of choice, it allows you to understand what they mean. So for example, you click on service, it tells you use this one to charge for purchases, to charge for or purchase like specialized labor, consulting hours, or professional fees. So if you're in the service business, you set up your item as service. If you're selling, then you set up your item as a stock part. So you use this one for goods that you purchase, track as stock, and resell. Okay. And if you are assembling one item with another item, you choose stock assembly, and this one aggregates different items together so that you have your final item that you're going to sell. And this is where we're going to put more emphasis so that you can understand how it works, especially if you're in a business that aggregates different things together, or you're in manufacturing. Okay. So in build assembly, in the stock assembly, it assumes that you are picking different stock parts to make your final item for sale. And you have all these other different different items that we went through previously. Okay. So in terms of setting up items, when you're determining the item that you want, so assuming that we are a stock, we sell some things that we offer for sale. Okay. You determine what it is that you want to sell. So for example, it's a spare part, because this is auto business. I don't know which spare part do you want to put. We just call it spare part. Okay. So that spare part, if it has a number, you have to put the number of that particular part if you want to be able to track the part number. Then you can choose a unit of measure, assuming that you sell it each per piece, then you can decide to choose each. If it is not each, then you have to determine a different unit of measure for that particular item. And then at what price do you normally buy this particular spare part? Okay. This sample file that we're using, the currency is in US dollars. So assuming that this particular spare part, you buy it at $10, okay? And then you apply a standard rate of VAT, and you have to assign an account to be debited. In this case, is the cost of goods sold account, okay? Where the expense is going to be posted. Whenever you buy that item and it is sold, the cost of goods sold account is going to be debited. Whenever you sell, therefore, there is an income account as well that has to be credited. And you have to choose the sales income for which you're going to assign that revenue when you generate it. The selling price, you can put the selling price at this point, or if your selling price is not predetermined, it's not like supermarkets, you have one price for everything, then you may leave this one blank, and at the point of sale is when you put in the selling price. But if you already know what the selling price is, let's say the selling price is $15, then you assign it $15 and it is going to be pre-filled. Okay. It's important to put in the description of the item that is that you're going to sell, so that it pre-fills the form whenever you're starting to put in the transactions. Some people want to track who their preferred supplier is, and so you say my preferred supplier for this particular item is this particular person. If there is none, you can leave it blank. Whenever your stock comes in, it is held in stock as a stock item in your balance sheet, and stock item has been set up in your chart of accounts as other current asset. Okay, so the stock item is held there until it is sold. At the time when it is sold, then the cost of goods sold is debited, okay, with the cost of sale, and then your sales income account is credited with the income that you have done that you have realized, and stock reduces. You may opt to put a minimum order point, so that you're saying whenever this stock item reaches, let's say 100 pieces, I want 100 pieces maybe, okay, since it's an auto company, 100 pieces, you want the system to warn you or to give you a reminder to reorder. But also you want to put a ceiling that you don't order too much. And you might say that every time I raise a purchase order to order, it should alert you if you're going to have stock of more than 1,000 pieces, because that is your maximum order quantity. If this is a new item I'm putting and it's been there, let's say it's a time when I'm putting in my opening balances, then I'll have put what is the quantity on hand of this particular day and what is the total value of this particular spare part. Whenever you put the quantity on hand, it will multiply the quantity on hand times the cost to give you the value. So assuming that I say we had 10 pieces, quantity on hand, so it will do 10 pieces multiplied by the cost per unit. It gives me the total value that I have as of that date as $100. Okay. So once you've set up your item, you can say, okay. So this is an spare part item that you're selling, okay? You're buying and selling at the same time. So you see now I have a stock part and the total quantity that I have is 10 and the selling price is 15. But assuming I want to assemble something, I don't just sell spare parts. I actually build something. Let's say I build a car, okay? So let's say I build a car. So if I build a car, it is going to have many different components, okay? Assuming you're a manufacturing business, the same logic applies for whatever it is that you build so that you can sell. So it means what you're buying, the material that you're buying, the raw material that you're buying is set up in QuickBooks as a stock part, but that which you assemble to sell is set up as a different unit, which is a different type of stock. And we're going to set up a car. Assume that you are setting up a car. So it's going to be an item still, but a new item. And this new item is going to be called a stock assembly. So this stock assembly, I'm going to call it a car. What brand of a car do I want to call it? Car red. Just call it car red. So this car red is a stock assembly, which means I'm using other stock items to assemble from other items to make this particular car for me to sell it, okay? And so at this point, I'm going to define its unit of sale is each, okay? But the cost per each, I'm not going to determine right now because I'm going to build this particular item out of many other parts that I'm going to have, that I already have in stock. The final product is going to be sold at some point and it's going to be charged on cost of goods sold, okay? And the selling price I can determine later as well. So this is what is very, very important, the bill of materials. Okay, this determines what is it that the components that make this particular car. So I assume that in this car, I need air conditioning. Okay, how many air conditioning? So the cost of air conditioning is this per unit. I need one air conditioning in this car. Then I'll need a body of the car. Okay, so I put that also one. I'll need brakes in the car. Okay. I will need, so this one's already pre-filled. Okay. Drive train. Okay, let me put this one, React shaft. Okay. So these stock items, you have to put in the stock items first, then you can build your assembly. And also an electrical bit, Windows switch master. We'll need that. And what else do we need? We need anything. So we need a gearbox. So what happens is when I've selected all these items to make my red car, The total bill of material cost is $548.32. Okay. So now I can determine that's the total cost of this particular car. Okay. And I can put that as the cost that I want to be the cost of the car. But if you have other components you want to add, for example, labor, you want to add labor cost, you want to add other different costs, you can just also pick them from the list, assuming that you had already added them in the system already. If you hadn't added them, you have to add. So for example, I don't have labor. Okay, the cost of labor is not there added, so I'll just say add new. Okay, labor is a what? Labor is a service. Okay, so that is the labor for making the car. I am going to say, okay, so the description is still labor. The rate, okay, I'll choose the rate per hour. Let me assume it's 10. And the cost whenever, of course, the car is sold, there has to be, it is part of the car sales, so it is part of the sales income. Okay, so it's saying labor has not been assigned an expense account and the item will not appear on the bill assembly transaction without an expense account. So that's the good thing about QuickBooks. And I tell people, don't be on autopilot. So whenever you see a dialog box coming like that, okay, it tells you there's something you're missing out, there's something you are not factoring, so you have to consider that and rectify. Okay, fine. And as you do like to edit this item now, you say yes, you want to edit this item now. Okay. And I have to change it. Okay, this service is performed by a subcontractor or a partner. Yes, if it is performed by somebody else, you can choose that it is not you who performs it. Okay. If it is you who performs it, you untick that. Okay. If it is another person who performs it, then that cost, you have to also assign a particular cost of that. So assume they charge you $5 for that. So, okay. You have to specify the expense account associated with this one. Cost of goods sold. So scroll down to the cost of goods sold. And then you say, okay. Okay, you have charged an account and receipt with this. So all the future transactions are going to be updated. Yes, that's what I want to be able to do. Okay. So how many units of labor do I need? I did not specify the unit of labor. You can edit a particular item. Okay. If you want to edit a particular item. You can choose you can put each. Okay. Yeah. So there now my labor shows up. If I need maybe 10 hours of labor, just for the sake of example, then that's the 10 hours of labor. So now you see, now I've added labor in my bill, of course. So my total bill is 598, okay? So what do I want to assign as the cost of this car? If for some reason I end up putting that the cost of this car is 500, the system, and I try to save it, the system will give you a warning, which is, I find very, very good for you to be aware of. It tells you the calculated total bill of material is greater than the specified amount in the sales price field. Would you like to update the sales price for this item? Okay, because it reasons, yes, it reasons that there's no way that you can sell this. I had not put a sales price here. You can't sell it at 0, yet your bill of materials is that, okay? So we have to determine how much do you want to sell this car. So let's say you're selling it at $1,000. Yeah, okay. And also even here in the cost, you might choose to say, okay, apart from this, what the bill of materials is giving you, you might want to add you want to have your markup or your other expenses that maybe are not yet factored in your bill of materials, okay? Or you can just pick the actual amount that is on your bill of materials, which is 598.32. And then you say, okay. Did I not specify the income account? Yes, else. Then you say, okay. So we are not moving until we have specified all that information, okay? So you see now we have a stock assembly, okay, of a car, red, but then we don't have any quantity. For you, therefore, to have the cars in stock, you have to build the cars. You have to make the cars, manufacture the cars or assemble the cars, okay? So you go to the red car or car red, and then you build assembly. So the build assembly is now when you actually construct that particular item. So I want to build a car red, and it tells me the components that I need to build car red are all these things I need. You remember the things that I picked on the bill of materials? All these things are needed, okay? Now, all these things are needed, but then there is a section here at the bottom that says the maximum number you can build from the quantity on hand. And here it is saying the maximum number that I can build is 0, because the quantity on hand is not enough for me to build this particular item, okay? So this happens to be a challenge, because when the quantity on hand for this body that we need is 0, it means we cannot build the car. And so we have to go and check, did we have enough stock put in the system? If we did not have enough stock put in the system, or maybe the accountant hasn't updated the bill of, stock that was put in. So you cannot proceed on to make the car if one component of that transaction is missing, okay? And so that takes us to the next point of entering the stock, receiving the stock. And receiving the stock is part of now the purchasing process and entering the bills, which we're going to cover shortly. So the landing point here is that you cannot build an assembly if any of those particular items are not in place, okay? So you have to either go back and edit, or you can say, I can make it pending, okay? Sorry, I wanted to build just one car. So I do not have enough components to build this one car. So I'm going to make it pending until I have all the components to build the car. Okay, so this build has not been posted. I still don't have my car until I have all the components that I need to make the car. Okay, so I'm going to close this window. And what we're going to do in module, what we're going to do in module 5 is to show you how to purchase the stock if the quantity of stock is low, how to purchase the stock so that you have enough stock to build your assembly. So you cannot have a component missing for you for that particular item that you want to build, and therefore you cannot proceed on from there. Okay. So today, module 3, we have seen how to establish cost centers, how to set up classes, how to set up projects, VAT codes, discount rates, and how to establish cost centers. So we are going to cover in the next module how to define budgets. And then after that, we're going to look at how to put in new stock for the items that you do not have so that we can complete the pending build. that we do not have right now. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.